All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Haster, and as you can probably tell by the title of this video, well, this live stream actually, something interesting happened at approximately 8:40 last night. Uh, as of doing this, it's, as you can probably see on your own clock, about 1:15, quarter after one, and it, something interesting happened about a few hours ago. I'm not doing that math; too tired. But to begin with, uh, Nick Sorter breaking. And granted, this is old. I saved it when I first saw it. So without further ado, in this one you can't really hear the gunshots, but as you can probably guess by that reaction right there, yeah, this is about the time that, well, as of recording this, it was about the time that a certain someone, a certain California teacher, I won't name names, allegedly uh, was halted and, through use of force, stopped by the police. During the struggle, allegedly, this teacher allegedly shot one of the police officers in a vest. Thankfully, the officer, despite being shot with the vest, is for the most part unharmed. But, oh, getting ahead of ourselves. But, of course, immediately after, we have, not that one. We have, also from Nick Sorter, we have, shortly after all of this, the Trump administration's official remarks on this, as per Trump himself.
They didn't want to take a chance, and I understand there was protocol. But
Quite sorry.
we're going to be doing one hopefully within the next 30 days or sooner. And I am ready, willing, and able. And I was all set to really rip it. And I said to my people, this would be the most inappropriate speech ever made if I said what. So I'll have to save it. I don't know if I could ever be as rough as I was going to be tonight. I think I'm going to be probably very nice. I'll be very boring the next time, but we're going to have a great event. And you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report.
They didn't want to take a chance,
All right.
and I understand
So,
it was protocol.
That's the first part. But following up, we have confirmation from the Trump administration, from the Trump man himself, that one officer was in fact shot by allegedly the California teacher.
He was shot, but saved by the fact that he was wearing obviously a very good bulletproof vest. He was shot from very close distance with a very powerful gun, and the vest did the job. I just spoke to the officer, and he's doing great. He's in great shape. He is has very high spirits, and we told him we love him and respect him, and he's a very proud guy. He's very proud of what he does. One officer was shot.
All right. Now, thankfully, no one died from this. Not even the alleged California teacher who allegedly attempted to get in to shoot Trump, and who allegedly, because he hasn't been found guilty in a court of law yet, shot one of the officers. Now, we have some interesting takes. I won't name names, but we have some questions. For instance, why was Vice President Vance pulled off of the stage? God damn it! Why was Vice President J.D. Vance pulled off the stage first? And to that effect, if you watch the video, which is why I had this pulled up, where you can kind of see everything happening. He goes out that side. And the Secret Service have to come out that direction in order to get to Trump. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to go down a narrow hallway with another person coming. It is far easier if one person goes through and the other person goes through after. considering a bunch of people would have to come through to get to Trump, yes, JD Vance is going to go out first. Along with that, they all came out the same side of over here. Trump would have to go this way. So Vance was just in the way. He had to get pulled out first, which is why they're so active as to actively rip him out of the seat. Yeah, you see all the Secret Service come, well, the more heavily armed Secret Service come from the side, and that is probably very loud and you can't hear me very well. Now, following this event, a certain lady, a certain CBS anchor, not necessarily any shame onto her, but she works at CBS, so as much as you can. She poses a unique question, and by unique I mean special, but you can't call people special anymore. She posed the question of how could he have done this? He went to DC and open carry, not exactly a state, but an open, like no open carry is allowed. And how could he go from California, which is very restrictive, all the way to here on train? Like, how did this happen? Well, I'll just let her ask the question and let Blanche answer.
The alleged shooter, as we just said, had multiple weapons in his possession. Here in the District of Columbia, open carry is not permitted. You just said he traveled from California across the country by train. At this point, are you thinking at the federal level of changing security protocols in any way to, for example, match on trains what you are expected to go through when you fly, where you do have to declare a weapon when you cross state lines? How did he travel by train without any challenge and arrive here in the nation's capital?
And look, this isn't about, in my mind, changing the law or making the laws more restrictive around possession of firearms. It appears he purchased these firearms the past couple years. We don't know how those firearms ended up in his possession in D.C. We can make some assumptions based upon what I just said about how he got to D.C. But I don't think the narrative here is about changing laws or making our laws more restrictive. This is about law enforcement who are doing their jobs and a suspect who tried to do something and failed miserably.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about changing the law in terms of possession of a firearm. I'm asking about crossing state lines with that firearm and arriving in the Capitol. If you try to fly, you do have to have your firearms declared in some way. You don't when you get on a train.
Well, look, you are talking about, I mean, if we're asking the question, that's talking about changing the laws, and I don't think that's something that we should be focused on right now in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, not a loophole.
There are lots of ways that...
Shut up, let him speak.
Yeah, so I mean, look, we also don't know. We don't have all the answers this morning. We're still looking into what happened, how he got the guns, if he got them legally. But what we do know is that he tried to use them. He did have 2 firearms and some knives on his person when he tried to use them, and he was stopped before he got anywhere near the president, before he got near any of us that were in the room at the time of that this occurred, and that's again, we can't overlook, and I'm not suggesting you are, but we can't overlook the great work of the Secret Service last night.
No, absolutely. We're all thankful for that.
No, you're not. But as you could probably have noticed right there,
you have
right
to
about
have
here.
your firearm. Okay, not a loophole.
There are a lot that think that's something that we should be focused on right now in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, not a loophole.
Okay. Minor critique. It is not a loophole. An oversight? Maybe. But no, it is not a loophole. Loophole would have to be that there was something to begin with that would have enabled a circumvention. There wasn't anything to prevent it in the first place. It is an oversight. Big difference. Now, a wise man once said, you don't go to the store while you're hungry. All right? And that is, you don't make a decision based on your current state, you make it on the future. In an event like this, you got to be careful. You need to look at stuff fairly reasonably. unfortunately, in this situation, someone doesn't really seem to be looking at this, you know, very calmly. In 2001, we had an incident. As many Americans know, due to that incident of 9/11, we had the Patriot Act pass in House, Senate, and then eventually it was signed in by the president. And even to this day, we are still feeling the effects of that, specifically with Real ID. Fun fact, Real ID was supposed to take effect back in 2003. It wasn't. And then it was pushed back to like 2008. And then it wasn't adopted. Pushed to 2014. Wasn't adopted. Pushed back and back and back until eventually, and for shame on her, Kristi Noem basically said, "Oh yeah, let's go through with this." But because we made a decision very, very hurriedly and we rushed to have an answer, to have a solution to a problem. We didn't actually stop to think, oh, wait a minute. How exactly would we solve this? And lo and behold, now we have to get new forms of identification that aren't even needed because you can get other things that can basically serve the exact same purpose. And it's all a bunch of happy horse shit. And in an event like this is something similar. Oh boy, another major thing happened. And we got to do something. We have to do something. No, you don't. This was a man, a very sick man, who did something very, very evil. And what happened then? Oh, he was stopped. Thankfully, in this case. And I understand the argument that some people would probably pose in the future. He could very well not be stopped. And to that, I say, yeah, possibly. But the attempt to stop him in the future now, by just making it to where everyone has to suffer, well, then you're just going to have the exact same incident as the Patriot Act. You're going to have the exact same problems that you see nowadays when it comes to preemptive solutions after something major. And fun fact, a criminal's going to criminal. He doesn't care what you say that he can or can't do. He's going to do it. If that involves taking a gun over state lines through a train, he's going to do it. If that involves, well, it's going to be way harder, but if he could get away with it, if it involved sneaking a gun on a plane, he would do it. It doesn't matter what sorts of new rules and regulations and laws you try to push and try to utilize to stop this. He or she will try to go around the law. Mostly because they're criminals. Why would they listen to the law in the first place? But getting a little bit back on track with the current state of affairs, we have a funny little reminder. Hasan Piker has openly stated that someone has to do it. And for a man who lives in California and the alleged, because he hasn't been proven in a court of law yet, teacher from allegedly California, it's a non-zero chance that said alleged teacher might have seen Hasan Piker, and it wouldn't surprise me if some of Hasan's rhetoric may or may not have allegedly radicalized the man into doing what he did today. But that could just be me. In other news, immediately, air quotes on immediately, shortly after the whole incident occurred, you have someone being held by gunpoint just outside of, well, not just outside, it doesn't specify that, but shortly after the shooting, you have someone being held within DC at gunpoint. From what I understand from this, it's thought that they thought that this could have been like a getaway driver or something, like an accomplice per se. Of course, there's not been any new evidence that I've seen, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a big stressful situation. I don't think this poor person is involved. I think it's just, I was just getting a coffee and I'm waiting for my friend inside, but there we go. Donny Boy actually released the video of the man coming in, and oh, just look at it real quick.
It looked like he checked it twice.
Lieutenant Hudson, you monitoring this there?
Meow.
Shall I post it as soon as he passed down that?
18, go for
So, as of right now, well, actually, I shouldn't say as of right now when I'm about to show this. Shortly before the White House Correspondents' Dinner, a certain Donnie Sour Little Piss Pants Lemon posted a video.
Let's talk about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. If you
Let's not.
don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Not technical jargon, Jesus. Sophistical formula.
And that's why I am not in that room tonight, even though I was invited, because I don't want to sit in a room and pretend it's normal and sip champagne and black tie and ball gowns, pretending that this is normal when it's not. This is not normal Republican versus Democratic politics.
What's not? Come on. You're just saying words.
Trump
Quit being so vague. Give me something to work with, something to bite onto.
regime is trying to take away press freedom. They are trying to kill the First Amendment. They don't believe in the First Amendment.
You got proof of that?
And they don't believe in freedom of the press. Otherwise, they would not be arresting reporters. They would not be searching their homes. They would not.
If they didn't believe in the freedom of the press, they wouldn't have been giving out independent, well, not independent passes to independent journalists, such as yourself, Donny Boy.
Not be taking their cell phones. They wouldn't be trying to investigate them. Taking their cell phones. They wouldn't be trying to investigate freedom of the press. Otherwise, they would not be arresting reporters. They would not be searching their homes. They would not be taking their cell phones. They wouldn't be trying to investigate them because they write a story that you don't like about your girlfriend. All of those things.
News anchors and reporters come into contact with some pretty impressive information every now and again. It is important that the information that is, I don't want to say safe necessarily, but the information that isn't going to put people immediately into harm's way or, completely blast open any attempts at an investigation for something else, or potentially, like, to quote current events with Iran and whatnot. If you had someone who would have like a bombshell that if was released immediately, everyone would be against Iran or everyone would be like against part of the peace talks. Peace is, in some cases, peace is so important that yes, you would suppress that. Now, a good example of when it's bad would be, I'm going to use 9/11 again. In the wise words of Family Guy, 9/11 was perpetrated by Syrians who were funded by an Afghani who was stationed in Iran and were invading Iraq. Why? Or no, sorry. Stationed in Iraq and were invading Iran. Why? They got oil. Like, in a situation where it's very obvious that, hey, there's something that we should know about when doing something along the lines of like a war or some major political movement, it's important, yes. But you also have to take into consideration that if you release information, for instance, let's say a sting operation, you know that there's evidence of a sting operation that's been going on for like 4 years. Well, that wouldn't be a sting operation at that point, but some long-term investigation, and you release the information, all of that could potentially go down the drain. And someone like El Chapo or someone like what's the current drug lord's name? Let's go. Do. Okay, yeah. So let's say you had information that you could use in order to nab both the Sinaloa and the Jalisco cartels. All right. But if you were to release that, they could react to it, and then everything could go down the drain. To halt information like that, I personally don't like suppression of press, but I can understand why it is important for like, oh shoot, for where to go, where to go. There we are. Had to cycle through the tabs, but it's important for like information like that to remain controlled to an extent. That way, nothing bad really comes of. That's not a good way to phrase it. That way, all your preparation doesn't go to waste. And the bad guys can't just weasel their way out. But, of course, Donny Boy here is going to bitch and moan because that's what Donny Boy does.
I can't believe the White House Correspondents Association invited them to be in that room.
Why wouldn't they? You're bitching about the FBI, you know, part of the executive branch, part of the White House. Of course they're going to be there, you dumbass.
I don't understand it.
Personal incredulity. Just because you don't understand doesn't mean that there isn't a reason. Come on.
I don't get it. You have to take a stand. And if you're in that room.
Ooh, I love the platitude. You got to take a stand.
You are co-signing this. You are complicit in normalizing.
Summation and division. You are part of the minority of people who want, out of the majority of the people, minority of them want something. So thus you are part of that minority because you are part of the majority.
Something that should not be normal. Something that is really, what they're doing is unconstitutional. So
How? Come on. How is it unconstitutional, Donny Boy?
I think it's going to be up to independent journalists to fight the good fight until we get our mainstream corporate journalists back in some way. So support independent journalists.
Wouldn't be this, Batman. How can you hop between, oh, they're suppressing journalists, which if anyone were to be suppressed would be the independent journalists. You know, the journalists that don't have major corporate backing. Kind of like a certain Donny Boy right now, considering the fact that he is an indie, because he's no longer at CNN after, 17 years? 17 years. I looked that up last night. So you're telling me that we have to be, you know, we have to support independent journalists, which I do agree. I can agree on that, sure. Because we need to get back our big corporate journalists that would be easier to control by the government, like CBS, CNN, MSNBC, you know, stuff like that, because they get funding from the government. Fun fact. And Fox News does too. Don't get me wrong. But you're telling me that we need to support independent journalists so we can get back the big corporate journalists because the independent journalists are being suppressed. What? Like, feel free in the comments or the chat, depending on when you see this, to correct me, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just missing something here. But I don't think that I am. So feel free to let me know.
Support the Don Lemon Show on all of our platforms. Go to YouTube, Twitch, Substack. The people who are sitting in that room, I'm sorry. It's a bad look. The American people.
Appeal to ridicule. It's a bad look. Why would you be there? Oh my God. What a fucking mean girl. But for the time being. Nope. Pause. Let's see. What is. Bam. I'm going to do something bold. I'm going to scroll. Oh, Jesus. Wait, when is this? 4 hours ago. Oh, geez. Okay. I don't know if my voice will let me do the Trump. What happened last night is exactly the reason that our great military, Secret Service, law enforcement, and for different reasons, of course, there's always different reasons. Every president for the last 150 years has been demanding that a large, safe, and secure, the most secure ballroom be built on the grounds of the White House. This event would have never happened, never, not once in 150 years. With this wonderful, big and beautiful military top secret ballroom currently under construction at the White House, the Whitest House. Some would even call it the Whiter House. It cannot be built fast enough. While beautiful, it has every... Oh, a little bit of a oopsie there. It has every high-level security feature, the highest feature there. Plus, there are no rooms. There are no rooms sitting on top. Oh, okay. Plus, there are no rooms sitting on top for unsecured people to pour in, and is inside the gates of the most secure building in the world, some would say in history, the White House. The ridiculous ballroom lawsuit brought by a woman walking her dog, her silly little dog, has absolutely no standing to bring such a suit. Oh, who has no standing, absolutely none, to bring such a frivolous, baseless lawsuit, which must be dropped immediately. Nothing should be allowed to interfere with this big and beautiful, some would say the most beautiful ballroom's construction, which is on budget and substantially ahead of schedule. Thank you for this attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, and that's certainly a fair statement to make. I mean, it wouldn't have, or it likely wouldn't have, considering, it's hard to get into the White House to begin with, and now you're building it in an even more secured location. Let's see. Yeah, Stephen Miller, Giga Chad, protects his wife. And yeah, I wish there were more video angles, but there aren't many, unfortunately. Let's see. What does the Julian have to say? That is very loud. Oh, okay, he's just gonna... All right. My wife and I were shocked to hear about the repeated attempt to assassinate Trump and his wife. There is no place for violence against anyone. Netanyahu lectures the world about violence. Okay. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Let's see. So many are saying Trump fell. What really happened was Trump went down to pick up Melania, who was crawling to safety while the Secret Service was pushing him to be safe, risk his own life to protect his wife. That's a real man. Real men protect their wives. I would prefer another angle, because it looks like, because you can't see. Oh well. Yeah, if he fell, I wouldn't blame him. I don't know if he did in fact help to pick up Melania, but yeah, if he fell, I wouldn't really blame him, considering the situation. Another thing. Candid photo. Face me again. Yeah, so, just a backstage shot. Great, thanks for stealing a Reuters photo. Stole a Reuters photo. Oh no. Oh, what's this? All right, Peter Ducey.
When I was talking to the president, he is, and the things that he has been hearing, he is of the understanding that this guy was trying to essentially break down the door, shoot his way through the door, and then go right up that center aisle and shoot as many people as possible. When I was talking to the president, he
Oh, that's
is,
nice. That's wonderful. Oh, we got rat skin going. He doesn't have his bandana on.
And you have, as many of your fellow Democrats, have used some heated rhetoric against the president. And do you think twice about that when something like this happens?
What rhetoric do you have in mind?
Just
Oh, what a
talking
fucking
about,
snake.
some of the fact that he, is terrible for this country and so on and so forth. I understand that that's your democratic right, but overall,
No,
do you?
not as a Democrat. That is just a right that you have. It's a constitutional right. No one voted on it to make it democratic. It is just the constitutional right.
I have no personal problem with Donald Trump at all. I mean, I talk about the policies of this administration.
What the hell happened to his eye?
The authoritarianism like we saw on display in Minneapolis, where 2 of our citizens were gunned down in the streets simply for exercising their First Amendment rights.
One of them did in fact hit a cop with her car, and the other one, lawful but awful. The cop believed that, well, the one cop probably didn't notice that the gun was taken off of him, and judging by the video, it looks like the suspect's gun, which was a fun fact, is a P320, which they're known for this, got jostled a little too hard. And as it was being moved away, it likely went off, which resulted in him being legally justifiable, morally understandable, but terribly unfortunately shot. Do I think he, should have had a gun on him? Constitutionally, he's allowed to, but I wouldn't when, I'm going to a protest like that. And in the past, I've been so violent as to break out taillights, cop cars. But that's just me. Mr. I don't go to protests because that's not something worth protesting. But anyway, Ratskin, continue.
Good. Alex Preddy and others have, died in custody. I'm talking about policies. I don't personalize it, and I certainly have never called the press the enemy of the people. I think the press are the people's best friend.
She didn't ask about the press. She said president.
And that's why it's written right there into the First Amendment. We need the press to be a vigilant watchdog against.
Okay, yeah, so he just isn't going to answer the question. Of course. Yeah. Kind of wish Mr. Rupar over here mentioned, oh yeah, and he just doesn't fucking answer the question. But of course he doesn't, because I can call him Ratskin for a reason. He's a terrible person. He's an absolute asshat. But whoa. What is going on here? All right. I walked out right next to Jake Tapper and looked him in the eye. How dare you? You've caused so much division in this country with your lies. I'm done calling it gaslighting. You've lied to the American people. I couldn't stay silent and walk out pretending someone like Jake Tapper is one of the good guys. Time for the press to wake up and stop the violence at Kerry Lake.
There's a report, though, that an officer was shot in a bullet-resistant vest. He's expected to be okay, Carrie. But the shooter is in custody. We have video of it up right now. The shooter is in custody. Unclear.
I will tell you, I'm sorry, but guys, I walked out, and I walked out as a complete. I'm sorry, he's a fool. Walking out next to Jake Tapper, and I looked at him and I said, "How dare you? You have caused so much division in this country, pushing lies." I said, we're not going to call it gaslighting anymore. You've lied to the people. How dare you do that? And I saw so many people from all of these news outlets who've just spread abject lies about President Trump over the years. They're part to blame of this, and I don't mean to get dramatic tonight. But I, as an American mother and an American, I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of the fake news that has just spread nothing but lies, trying to hurt this president, trying to go against the American people. And I couldn't sit there silent and walk out next to somebody like a Jake Tapper and act like he's a good guy.
Yeah.
These
Well,
people.
Ooh. Fair enough. I mean, I completely understand. Considering Carrie Lake, fun fact, if you didn't know, was in the industry when it comes to the news. She was a news anchor for like 20 years, I think. How long was be a newscaster? Let's see. 22 years. Okay. Not like 25. 22 years. So, yes, where was I at? There I was at. Yeah. She's been in long enough to be able to point this out. This isn't necessarily.
There's a report, though, that.
No, shush. I don't want to make this sound like an appeal to authority, but if anyone were to have the capacity to say this, it would be her. Let's see. What? Oh boy. Trump dinner shooter was allegedly a Zionist. Do not let the media hide this. Okay, so riddle me this, Batman. If Israel controls the government of America, why would they try to kill the guy they control? For a guy who has openly been like, hey, why would we do this? Because, fun fact, J.D. Vance was initially against the, like, not exactly invasion, but the attacks on Iran. Not Iran. Fucking Iraq. You know, difference. What's the difference? An N and a Q. It's the same fucking desert. But, you know, instead of, you know, starting another war in the sandbox, J.D. Vance was kind of opposed to it, considering he, if my memory serves, did serve during the sandbox wars. Why would they kill the guy who... Okay, hang on, let me think about this. The guy who wanted to start a war in the sandbox for the sake of not only Israel, but also the United States, because they were against the United States. Why would the sand people who want the war get rid of the guy who is willing to go into the war with a guy who doesn't want to go into the war because he already fought in a sandbox war? Yeah, but this is dumb. Hang on, let's see. Ooh. Oh boy, here we go again. Fox News have identified the suspect in custody. Oh, here's scientist 31 accused of opening fire at the White House Correspondents' Center. Isn't any would-be killer. He's an elite trained engineer from Caltech. Students with perfect SAT scores gain admission. Is that Destiny? Looks like Destiny. Officially, the FBI and police have stormed the house of the alleged White House Correspondents' Dinner shooter, Cole Allen. I don't know why I wanted to read that backwards. 31 in California. Boy, I wonder what they're going to find in there. That was 6 hours ago. Would have been fairly early. I want to adjust for California time. Right. Oh boy. Let's see what this claim is now.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And, right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened. And then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV. You do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this
not Aisha, no. No, not Aisha. Oh yeah, there's also this. And just kind of yoinking. Oh, okay. I didn't realize she grabbed two. Any videos I saw, there was only the one. Wow, classy. Oh.
Because I want to make this country great.
Yeah, it looks like it's just a bunch of the same feedback loop stuff right now. Is he still? Yeah, he's too old for this shit. I mean, like, it's already here. Oh no. Oh, hey, that's the where is it? No, oh, I thought I had it. But here's, I believe, a longer video. Yeah, okay, so right at the beginning here, you can actually kind of hear some muffled sounds. Sounds like someone like banging on a table in the distance. That would in fact be the shots fired. Hang on here, let me turn up the video. The video audio. Yeah, I don't know how well you can hear it, but that is the thing. And as you can see with like everyone beginning to move up, that's when like this all happens. Pardon me. So, and yes, detained, not deceased. I heard one thing claimed that like they did shoot him. So once again, I don't know for sure yet. Oh, pissy sissin. Or Mueller just died. Good, I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. Donald J. Trump. Yeah. Considering all the bullshit Robert Mueller tried to pull, some of it he managed to, yeah. Goodbye, old paint. Let's see. Completely ignores his wife, Cheryl. Well, it's not exactly his. In this case scenario, it's not really his job. And at which, oh, wait a minute. What was that? What was that? Oh, they grabbed her. Yep, there we go. It's almost like he's kind of being pulled along and, you know, it is the Secret Service's job in this case. Now, don't get me wrong, it's kind of poopy stinky that he didn't immediately have her with him as that was going on. But, you know, stuff happens. And as you can see, right... Yep, they grab her, pull her in. And wow, but we're not going to talk about that, of course. Let's see. White House Correspondents' Center shooter was armed with a shotgun, handgun, and multiple knives, according to the DC Police Chief Jeffrey Carroll. The shooter was allegedly identified as 31-year-old teacher Cole Allen from Torrance, California. The suspect emerged from a makeshift room near the entrance where there was, quote, no security, near where bar carts were stored, according to the New York Post. He was in that room. He grabbed it out of a bag or something. The weapon, quote, was long and, quote, didn't look like a typical gun, and, quote, this will work. A witness who was a volunteer at the event told the Post it was reportedly believed that Allen was a guest at the Hilton Hotel where the dinner took place. What in the world? Oh, yeah. So far. But. What? Alleged.
One officer was shot.
Okay, that's the same video as earlier. DH means California State University, Dominguez Hills. The school's emblem is a bull's head, which matches the photos. Okay. NBC, what are you doing? It wasn't outside, it was in the building. But, of course, being technically correct, it was outside of the room. That's just not real. Isn't it? It's right here. Oh, well, maybe I'm misinterpreting what he's saying there. Yeah, I guess it's a misinterpretation on my end. Trump and Vance rushed off stage. Okay. No, Christ on a bike. Right. Also, I don't understand why everyone's so pissy about the ballroom. Trump's paying for it through, like, his own private funds. It's not taxpayer funded. I mean, I know where the lie came from. It came from the Democrats, but, like, come on. Let's see. Oh, Indian detected. Opinion disregarded. Not liberals. Not liberals. Leftists. Big difference. Again. Let's see. Doesn't look like much of anything else as of right now. Do you know what that means? Let me make sure that this isn't gonna. Yes. Behold the limitless void. Oh yeah. I have that pulled over in the side. Yes, I do in fact keep this open so I can keep a better eye on chat. But for the time being, let's see. What games do I have that I could play? Actually, I'll save that for a different stream. I'll save that for another stream. Anyway. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. Here. Loading screen. Don't worry, I will be back fairly shortly with a different stream. That way I can keep this and that separate. Until then, enjoy some swanky beats.